Hi everyone, and welcome to my next build. As you can see from the box, we're going to be doing Dragon's Stug 3 Ausf C/D in 1/72 scale. Really looking forward to receiving this in the post. As you can see, these are the items in the box. So let's have a open up and let's see what we got. And there we are, not a lot. I was very disappointed indeed when I had a look inside. So let's go into more detail. We have the one sprue, and let's take the sheet off of that. Open that up. And there we go. Unfortunately, everything is moulded, and there's no equipment, no tools, no hatches, no nothing. It's all on one solid piece. Extremely disappointing. Altogether, I think there's around about 26 individual parts. Obviously, the wheels duplicated and other bits and bobs. And I think there's about half a dozen spare pieces, as with most Dragon kits that you get. There we go, we can have a look there on the covering sheet. Everything marked in blue is for yours to keep. The one thing I did quite like actually were the tracks. Again, let me just open the packet. These are one solid rubber piece. Again, badly detailed. I mean, all the holes in the wheels are solid. The tracks, again, all solid, no holes in them at all. So all in all, a very poor kit. This is the hull. Let's just take that out for you as well. So on the face of it, not too badly detailed, but again, like here at the back, that should all be individual pieces, but it's all moulded on, which is poor. So yeah, all round, very disappointed indeed. As far as the decals go, Prince Eugenie, or Prince Eugene I should say, and Salitso. As with the box art, there's some names, etc. And we got the German crosses on there as well. So very limited choice on what you can actually put on the model as far as markings go. So that's what I've been lumbered with. I've just recently done a kit bash, so I'm not really in the mood to be doing another one just yet. So this will be very much out of box. I will try and improve it as much as I can with some additions, but I'm not going to all the trouble of taking all the tools off and replace them and other bits and bobs. So we'll go with what we've got. However, what I am going to do is cover up the majority of the poorness of the kit with these guys. This is Caesar's Miniatures, World War German tank riders. This particular picture that's on the box art, I've discovered sort of 6 or 7 pictures of the Stug carrying troops into battle. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We've got 12 guys on there, 2 of them obviously with the Stug itself. Very well detailed figures, very pleased with them indeed. All in different poses. Let's just unseal the bag so we can, I don't know how well these are going to come up, but I will do some stills so that you can see how good they are. Let's get some tweezers. There we go. One little chap sat there. Another one as well. This guy's got his gun across his arms. So you'll be hanging off one of the fenders, I expect. So yeah, very pleased with that. As you can see from the box art, they've all got the disc camo on their jackets and on their helmets. Yeah, that ain't happening. So what I'm going to be doing is, because they've got jackets on, we're going to go for the winter look, so I'll be able to paint them the jackets in white. So what that means is that this is going to be another winter camouflage tank. This time, rather than doing the worn off effect, I shall go for the all white effect and see how that all turns out. Before I move on to the first update on the build, I forgot to mention that I did actually find some tank commanders in the spare box. There's nothing on the sprue, so I can't even remember where I got them from. Probably just picked them up in a batch of spares at some point. So I'll be using those. Not as well detailed as the other figures, but they'll certainly be passable. So that's that. First stage of the build, it's a matter of putting on the barrel and doing the wheels. Barrel was very straightforward. It was just a matter of drilling out the barrel itself to make it a hollow, just using the standard little drills. And then I felt like putting the whole thing in the bin, because this really is a bad kit. If we have a look at the wheels, these are the two sections that you get to put together for the sprockets. As you can see, only half of them have sprocket teeth on them. This is one that's been made up. So there you go, that's with the sprocket teeth, and that's without. And the reason that is because of this attract system that Dragon have come up with, whereby the actual sprocket will go in the front there. So obviously the bit without the teeth goes up against the rubber. It's to give the impression of the actual teeth being inside the track. The teeth that are actually moulded on, are actually moulded onto the track. Don't go far enough up, so that looks crap. There's a seam line all the way through the track, which will have to be gotten rid of. As mentioned before, there are no holes in the track, so I'll have to come up with something for that, although that will affect the front part here, so I'm envisaging that will probably be covered up quite extensively in pigments. For some silly reason, they decided to do their rubber join right at the front where it can all be seen, instead of doing it underneath. And also on the rear, there's a retaining bracket there for the rear idler. There it is, which will be in plain view, so that will have to be removed as well. So I'm rapidly falling out of love with this model, but I shall persevere. For me, I think it's going to be the figures that will make this build, and I'll try and add value as much as I can. Now, it hasn't taken me long to realise that this plastic is somewhat brittle in places, so when you're cutting it off of the sprue, no issue at all, but then when you start to trim your sprue back down to the plastic part itself, don't go all the way to the end, because you will take chunks out of the main part. So just be a little bit careful there, and sand back with your sandy sticks all of the leftover sprue. I always try and paint as much as I can off the vehicle as far as the wheels go. So the sprockets have been put in the painting cup, and they'll be done separately. The actual holders for the sprockets, I will attach those to the main hull. This is the hull itself, and in traditional Dragon style, this is a rehash of an original kit. So as you can see here, we needed to take the rear off and the front off as well. Quite easily done, just using the normal craft saw to take the back end off, and then it was just a matter of sanding it all back. But again, which seems to be the norm with this kit, the result is rather poor. As you can see there, no detail there whatsoever, and a nice big line for the join, so that will all have to be pigmented out when it comes to the weathering stages. The back, similar story, goes on quite well, to be honest, but again, Just look at those exhausts, how poor that is, and the toe pin, not very good at all. So anyway, I'll see what I can do as far as adding some value there, sort of drill out the holes in the exhausts, and see what I can do with that toe pin. I really didn't want to do much for a kit bash. I really wanted to have just an out of the box build, so we'll see how we get on. So moving on, we've done the dampeners here. 4 altogether went on, nicely detailed. There's a little retaining point behind each one, and to get them flat you just need to trim them down so that they sit correctly. The front panel here has been done. Again, I'm not doing any research on this, so I've no idea if these are the correct style. One thing I will say though is that these are shocking, so I'll try and do something with those as well. So that basically is the lower hull all done. What I'm going to do now is go away and see how I can add value to the rear here with the exhaust side, and how I can add value at the front here as well. At the start I said that I really wanted to make this an out of box build, but unfortunately the kit is so bad I've had no choice but just to add some basic detailing that's missing. So I'll put stills up because it's very difficult to see from the video, but I've added on the covers for the lights, just a matter of putting some 0.25 plastic card on there. Again, you probably can't see it, but then there's another strip underneath with a 0.3mm styrene rod to make the hinge. I've added toe hitches. This one on this side was a complete disaster because the drill actually snapped as I was drilling through the hole. So the actual middle bit is in fact a drill bit. So I've just added a little end of a toe pin on the end there with 0.4mm wire. And then using 0.1mm wire, I tied it together using the drill in the normal way to make chains, and then using a needle just opened up each of the links. So that's the chains there. On the back again I wanted to do the same, but as you can see it's just impossible. It's just one big glob of mess. I'll try and do something with it, but I'm just fearful that it will make it even worse. Obviously I've drilled out the exhaust pipes. As far as this part is concerned, the tow hitch, I've never seen that in any pictures. It's usually just a round ball, so I'll do some more research before I make the decision whether to keep it or to remove it. That's it. I don't want to do any more on the lower hull, and now I shall move on to the upper hull. So I've done some research on the tow hitch at the back. From what I could see, pretty well much every single picture I could find of a rear C and D didn't have the tow hitch on the back. Plenty on the F and G, Ausf F and Gs. So whether it was a later addition. So I've personally decided to take the tow hitch off the back, and therefore it looks more like all the pictures that I've seen. If it's incorrect, apologies to the people in the know out there, but I personally like it and I think it's a lot better on the model. Also, I forgot to mention at the front I put a 0.3mm styrene rod across the front of the hull there to do a little weld seam. Very straightforward. Just put the grooves in with the back of a blade. So that's all nicely done. As you can see, I've added the top of the hull. Surprisingly, it fitted quite well. However, one of my biggest bugbears with kit manufacturers is their ability to put holes and gaps underneath fenders. It drives me up the wall. So once this is all dry, that will be my next task, to plasticard and to fill in those and get that ready. So I'll crack on and get that done, and then I'll show you the next update. So the underside of the fenders has now been filled, strips of plastic card as well as the humble filler. Just got to wait for that all to dry, and then that will all be sanded back neatly, and on this side as well. So very pleased with the way that's gone. On the top I took the liberty of just finishing off putting the hatches on, and obviously the front barrel there, that's been added on as well. 2 side pods, they've been done. There really wasn't any point putting wire handles in, so I've just hollowed those out and they're looking okay. We'll have the aerial going along here, along with the cleaners for the barrel. They'll be painted off the actual model itself, so they won't be added until the end. So that's really it. We've got the Nortec at the front and a couple of headlights. Again, I'll add those right at the end because they'll only get knocked off. So yeah, that's basically the end as far as the kit goes. Now we need to start thinking about modifications. The first one is to actually put the tank crew in. We'll have the tank commander that side and one of his oppos on this side. So unfortunately what that's going to mean is that I've got to take out both the doors here and here. I'll be very surprised if I manage to get them done without any damage, so I'll probably have to end up making my own ones. So leave that with me and I'll let you know how I get on. So here's an update on how well we're going with the hatches on the Stug. I tried to cut them out, as I said earlier, but the plastic was so thick. So what it was just a matter of getting the drill in there and drilling it out, and then using the craft knife and the sanding stick to make it as flush and clean cut as possible. There's a little nick there, but I'll be able to sort that out later. Jim Rafe was very kind to me in the past and put me on to a drill called the Combo Micro Drill. It's a cracking piece of kit because you have the ability to be able to slow it down, speed it up, and get a lot of control. So if you're after a decent craft drill, then I can highly recommend the Como drills. So let's have a look at the actual commanders themselves. This is the Oppo. He can now fit in there okay. Oh, there you go, he's gone completely. Have fun getting that one out. Oh, there we go, so he's out again. So yeah, basically what will happen is I'll put a bench or something down there for him to sit on, so that's all okay. Next we needed to have a look at the hatches. I've put them on a 5p piece so you can have a look at the actual scale. Let's see if we can get this up to the camera. No, it's not going to happen. There we go. The joys of dealing with small items. Obviously I'll do you some stills so you can see it in better detail, but just to quickly run through it. This is the larger hatch. We've got a couple of 0.5mm rivets on each side to represent the hinges on the other side, and then using Slater's plastic strip, I've done a strip down with a little bracket using pie tin foil, a little lever there again with the pie tin foil, and another rivet. The other hatch, it's just a matter of doing a strip to represent the plate where the other door locks into, and all that now leaves me to do is to add the 0.5mm rivets for the hinges on that side. So that's basically it. I shall just carry on now and get those finished and show the end results. So with the hatches complete, I decided to sort out the tank crew themselves. As you can see, they fit in there quite nicely. They'll obviously be painted off the model, and what I've done is just added a bit of square rod to a specific height to make them look more realistic. So they'll be finished off at the end. The final bit of work that I want to do on the Stug is the rear. Lots of photos show that on the back of the Stug there'd be a wooden plank that would then allow the Germans to put a lot of equipment, stowage, usually covered in the tarpaulin, on this particular area. Now, because the Dragon kit is so poor, there's no tow rope here whatsoever, and obviously nothing in the kit at all, so that would be an ideal opportunity to cover up this particular area. Now, the wooden plank to go on the back of the Stug to retain all of the stowage is fairly straightforward. This was an in-field addition, so you can pretty well much decide whatever you want to use to put on the back. I've gone for a plank of wood with 3 metal struts. If you just look at research pictures, you'll be able to decide for yourself what you want to go for. So yeah, a bit of 0.25 plasticard. Using a craft knife, I've added some wood effects as well. As you can see, I'm starting to put on the rivets, but when you do put the struts on, just make sure that they're in the correct position so it avoids everything else that's on the back of the Stug. So once that's done, it's a matter of having a bit of fun and deciding what you're going to be putting on the back. I'm very fortunate, I have a lot of resin items which I'll be able to choose from as far as what I'm going to do. Possibly put a oil can on there, some crates and that sort of thing, and then maybe possibly put a tarpaulin on. Not quite decided yet, but I can see the light at the end of the tunnel now as we're nearly there. I've decided to call this one complete now. I've had some fun and games adding on the figures. I've gone for 8 infantrymen altogether, and as you can see, there's a couple of tank commanders in there as well. As far as the stowage goes, I've managed to cover up the area where there is no tow rope, so I managed to find a bit of track, a blanket roll, and there's a couple of ammo boxes and a rucksack in there as well. So it's really just a matter of tidying it all up, getting all the seam lines off those figures, and getting it ready to do a bit of paintwork. I shall go in closer now for you, and I'll also add on some stills.